Jim Obergefell fights that fight. He lives that role. He's done it in spades. He is the definition of being the change. He knows inequality. He has set out to make it right. And soon we will hear from the Supreme Court in his case. And you know what? I think the news is going to be good. Fingers crossed. Right now, though, it is our time to celebrate Jim. Come on up, Jim. Please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. Wow. Kristen, that was beautiful. Thank you. It's really been a great honor for me to be here as your Grand Marshal. It's really been a fantastic weekend, and Carla, you and everyone with Stonewall Columbus really should be proud and feel proud about what you've accomplished. I'd especially like to thank a few people who have made my experience this weekend a lot of fun. They've kept good care of me. Shane, Brian, Sarah, Luke, Drew, and Dan, thank you. It's been a blast. So I thought back 2 years, and I wondered if someone asked me, Jim, what do you think the next 2 years are going to bring for you? My answer would have been pretty darn simple. My answer would have been, I'm going to lose the love of my life sooner rather than later, and then I'm going to have to pick up the pieces of my life and figure out how to go on. That's what I would have answered. I know there's no way I would have said, well, I'm going to be the Grand Marshal of the Columbus Pride Parade. I know I never would have dreamed that I would say, I'm going to marry the love of my life, and we'll sue the state of Ohio. I certainly never would have imagined that I would say, I'll be the named plaintiff in a Supreme Court case. And never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that our country would be on the brink of nationwide marriage equality. Or even more unbelievable, that my name and my face are so much a part of that. And yet here we are. And it's simply because John and I got pissed off. And we decided in that moment, we're not going to take it. We just can't do it. We've had it. And the amazing thing is, this crazy experience that I've had, it all began with a wonderful woman I had the great opportunity to meet last week, Edie Windsor. It was back on June 26, 2013, when the Supreme Court handed down its decision in the Windsor case, striking down part of the Defense of Marriage Act, that I just immediately hugged and kissed my partner of 20 years, John, and said, let's get married. Luckily, he said yes. But I was inspired to do that because of Edie's love for Thea and her decision to fight the federal government for their marriage. You should have seen Edie and me last week in New York. We were in the midst of a crowd, the first time we met, when we were introduced, and we were struggling to hold ourselves together and not start crying. I had no idea just how much it would mean to me to meet Edie. I will always remember that moment as one of the most meaningful of my life, because I got to meet my hero, Edie, who got us started on such an incredible journey. And I got to hug her, and I got to thank her. I considered Edie my hero. And I've had a lot of people tell me that I'm their hero. I'm not comfortable with that, and I'm not sure I ever will be. But I do understand a bit more now why people say that. All it took for me was to meet my hero and to see it from the other side. I finally got it in that moment. The emotions, the love, and support that I've been shown by so many people since John and I got fed up, stood up, and said, this isn't right, it isn't just, and we're not going to take it. I finally get why people call me a hero. Still not sure I believe it, but I understand it. So since the time John and I got married, and a short 8 days later we filed suit against the state of Ohio, people across this country, and indeed across the world, have reached out to thank me, to hug me, to tell me what my fight means to them or someone they love, and to tell me their stories. And I'd just like to share a couple of those stories with you, and there are so many more. Recently, a young man told me that after watching the video of John's and my wedding, it gave him the courage to finally come out. A mother told me on the very day that her daughter came out to her that listening to me speak and tell my story made them both cry but gave them hope. A law student who was seated in front of me in the Supreme Court on that day of oral arguments immediately burst into tears when he realized who I was. And probably the most surprising of all, an evangelical Republican shook my hand and thanked me. These people want to do something in a private moment with me that I was able to do with Edie and that I've been fortunate enough to do on a much wider scale. Speak from my heart and tell my story. I've already mentioned a little bit of my story, and for the one or two people here who don't know it, let me share a bit more. John and I met for the first time at a bar. No sparks flew, nothing changed for either one of us. We met a second time at that same bar. Still nothing changed. We met a third time when I went to a New Year's Eve party at John's house, and I never left. We like to say for us it was love at third sight. And we quickly became inseparable. John gave me a diamond ring after just 7 weeks. Yeah, we really did know that quickly. So we built our life together and we made all those commitments and promises that couples make. 2011, our 18th year together, I noticed that John's walk had changed. His left foot was slapping when he walked. It just sounded different. It didn't go away. And then he started falling. So I finally convinced him it's time to see the doctor. So he started a series of tests, met with one neurologist, a second neurologist. The diagnosis, ALS. And the prognosis, death in 2 to 5 years. Yeah, our world was turned upside down. In March of 2013, John entered at-home hospice care. Our hospice nurses cared for John 4 hours a week. The rest of the time, I had the privilege to care for the man I loved. It wasn't easy, it sure wasn't fun, but I couldn't imagine doing anything else. What do you do for the person you love but care for them? Then Windsor happened, and we could finally marry and have it carry legal weight. So we did. Of course, we couldn't do that at home, not here in Ohio, thanks to that constitutional amendment, but we made it happen in a chartered medical jet on the airport tarmac in Baltimore. After my plea for connections on Facebook, I simply asked my friends and family, do you know a pilot? Do you know someone with a charter company? Our family and friends immediately started saying, Jim, we don't know anyone to connect you with, but we'd like to give you this money as our gift. We want you guys to get married, and we want to be part of it. So our family and friends covered the entire $13,000 cost of that medical jet. So we had to jump through a lot of hoops to get married. I'd do it all again because it was the happiest moment of my life. And that was it. We simply wanted to get married and have our government recognize us. We had no plans to sue, no plans to do anything other than enjoy our remaining time together. Then a civil rights attorney reached out to us, and he pulled out a blank death certificate and said, now, guys, do you realize when John dies, Ohio will put unmarried in marital status on his death certificate. And the space for surviving spouse, Jim, your name won't be there. John's last official record as a person will be wrong. That's when we got pissed off. So we sued, and we won. When John died, he died knowing that his death certificate was accurate and that it reflected our marriage. But of course, Ohio appealed, and you know where that's led us now. And I think back and realize I've ended up in the place I am because we were willing to share our story. We were willing to share who we are, talk about our love and our commitment, and use that to fight injustice. I'm still amazed at how much our country has changed over the past 10 years. John and I never expected to marry in the first place. Yet we did, and here I am. So tomorrow, or a week from tomorrow, the United States Supreme Court is going to let us know if we really are equal citizens, at least with regards to marriage. And I think we're getting good news. I really do. But I believe it's due in large part to our community's decision to be proud of who we are and to share our stories. Stories change hearts and minds, and I've experienced that firsthand. In fact, 2 of my friends told me that watching my fight to honor my commitments to my husband changed their opinions on marriage equality. It happened because I was proud of my relationship, proud of our marriage, and I was willing to fight for it. So be proud of who you are. Share your story. That's how we change the world. But we can't forget there are also some stories that aren't so good. The lives of trans men and women that have been and continue to be taken by hatred and violence. The stories of our LGBT brothers and sisters who lose a job or a home because of who they are or whom they love. The stories of LGBT youth who struggle to accept themselves while dealing with bullying, parents who judge and condemn, or life in a rural or small town America where no youth organization exists to provide a safe environment. I'm confident we will remember those stories as we continue our fight for full equality. I was fortunate enough to meet one of my heroes in that fight, Edie Windsor, and I've met countless people who consider me a hero. I think we're all heroes for living honestly and for changing hearts and minds on a daily basis simply by being who we are and being proud of that. So 2 years later, I'm happy to say my life did not fall apart when John died, like I expected it to. I've been able to fight for John, our marriage, and our commitments to each other, and for all of you and people across our country. And I've had the love and support of millions of people behind me, and that's been an incredible experience. Good news is coming, and on that day, I hope someone somewhere is inspired to do what I did when the Windsor decision was released, and that's propose to the love of his or her life. And I think that would be a great legacy for my husband. I'm truly humbled that my fight for my marriage has had such an impact, and I'm honored to be here with you today because of it. Thank you.